Good morning everyone, welcome to Patchwork Cutters. My name's Tracey Mann from Tracey Mann Cakes, and today I'm going to do some cocoa butter painting with you. So Valentine's Day is just round the corner, so I thought what I'd do is I would actually use some of the cutters on some of the cookies that I've been creating recently. So I've basically taken one of our cookie cutters and put it together with patchwork cutters in order to be able to create a lovely design that I think would be very sweet for Valentine's Day, but not only for Valentine's Day, for Mother's Day or a birthday gift, or lots of other ideas there as well. So I've got a very kind of a cookie cutter you can use for all occasions. Now, some of you who follow me on Saturday mornings will have seen this already, so you will have seen my teddy cookie cutter, but today we're going to decorate the heart in a different way. And also I have got another heart cookie that I've got cut out ready with another one of the patchwork cutters. So we're actually going to look at 3 different cutters today. We're going to look at 3 different sets. The first one we're going to look at is called Magnolia and Rose. So Magnolia and Rose, we're going to use the very tiny little one. In fact, it's so tiny I had to send a picture to Marion yesterday and say which set's this from. I've always said this before in the past, haven't I? I've got sets everywhere, and when I get to the point where I have to actually sort of like tell you which set it's from, and you can see how tiny it is, I always get very confused. You have to excuse my multicoloured hands as well, because I had a little fight with my edible printer this morning, and I never come off very well when I'm doing that despite wearing gloves. So this is the tiny little rose. If I turn it to one side, you should just be able to see it there. So we're going to use that one this morning. We're also going to have a look at this set here, which is called Rose Garland. So again, roses, they don't have to be just for Valentine's Day, do they? They can be all sorts of different occasions. And there's 3 different sets in there. You can see 3 different sizes. The one we're going to look at is the smallest one there. What I discovered the other day with patchwork cutters, particularly the next one that's coming up, if you can't really see the pattern because it's dark, or you can't because it's black on here and it's difficult to see, if you just roll out a bit of sugar paste and print it in, you'll be able to see much clearer what the definition is on this cutter. So if you are sort of thinking, I can't quite see what that is, then definitely do that. That does work. And then the other one we're going to look at today, so we've got those 3, is this one here. Now this one, I've forgotten the name of it now. That's helpful, isn't it? What's it called? Floral Side Design. There we go. So my memory's a little challenged at the moment. I've put some icing sugar on there just so you can kind of see it on camera. In fact, I could do a bit more of that, couldn't I? Let me just... There you go. There's another way of being able to see what it is. Put some icing sugar on it and then you'll be able to see what the pattern is. Look at that. All these magic things I find out when I go online, live, and not deliberately. There you go, you can see a bit clearer there. So there's a nice sort of floral pattern going on there as well. So we're going to use that as well on another one of the cookies that I've got lined up for today. So I think we'll start with this one because this is the more complicated one, and then we'll move towards the teddy later on. So we'll get that organised first. Let's move everything out of the way. So we're going to do some cocoa butter painting. I know lots of you have got on board with this now that I've been on Patchwork Cutters talking about it quite a lot, and being able to see exactly what is involved. So I'm just going to bring my painting gear in so you can have a little look. Bring my camera up a little bit so I'm not on top of it. So what I've got here is a creme food warmer. It's very hot at the moment. There's my little tea light, and then I've got a metal paint palette that's sat on top, and in here I've got cocoa butter which is melted. So my cocoa butter starts off like this. Pop it in there. The heat of the metal paint palette melts it and turns it into a liquid. And then in here I've got some dusting colours. So I have got white and red, black, moss green and spring green today, although knowing me I'll probably end up changing my mind halfway through. And I've also got 2 paintbrushes on the go. I've got 0 and 1. So the stuff we're painting today is quite fine, so I need fine paintbrushes to go with it. So anything sort of bigger than a 1 is going to be quite tricky with this one. A 0 will help you with some of the detail, and I will probably use my dotting tools as well, which always... now here we go, they've appeared, that's handy, which are these little gadgets here that I've been using with various different ideas with cake painting. They've got little tiny ball on the end of them, and they're used actually in nail art of all things, but I've been using them in painting, and they make really nice little round dots, so they're very helpful for that. And we, as in me, sell them in sets of 5. So if you want to get a set, then we do have them on our website, which the address was up earlier. Okay, so you can see that's melting already. In fact, I'm moving it around. You can see it's sort of slopping about everywhere. I've got a heart-shaped cutter here. So this is one of our heart-shaped cookie cutters. I didn't make a cookie for this. I just took hold of the floral side design, which is this long one here. And I just took a proportion of it. So I literally just went on there and went, what bit do I like? What bit? I really wanted that flower. So that was the most important bit. I got that flower in there. Put it across some sugar paste, then took my cutter and then cut out how I wanted that to sort of sit on there. So you could do the heart in a different colour if you want to. You don't have to do it in white. I've done mine in white, but I've done my other paints in pale blue and pink today. So I was trying to sort of do a bit of variety more than anything else. And we'll bring that down a little bit closer just so you can see some of the detail on there as I go. So there's a lot of leaves on here as well. As it's Valentine's Day, do you know what? I've not painted this yet. So I have studied it and I've looked very carefully at the detail. So we will have a look as we go along and see what we can work out with it. What I might do actually is I'm going to put in some pink. You see, this is where I tell you I'm doing all this stuff and then I change my mind halfway through. I'm going to just put in a pink luster colour here. Maybe we'll have that in there as well. Pink and red are really nice colour combinations. Can't go wrong with a bit of pink and red. I'm just going to bring this back just a tiny little bit because otherwise it's going to spend its whole time focusing on my hand and not actually on the painting. There we go. Okay, so let's start with the flower in the middle. So I'm just going to grab, this is paintbrush 1. I'm going to grab some of this. This is a luster colour. So this is Iced Pink Sorbet. So this is an edible art colour. It is on my website. You'll be able to find it on there. Just going to grab a little bit of white, just lighten it up a bit. You're going to find now that there are some changes within dusting colours, for some recent changes. You would imagine that being in the EU, it wouldn't affect us, but it does. And that's that the number E171, which is a food colouring, is now banned in Europe, and it's now affecting us as well because the suppliers obviously sell to Europe. So you're going to find that the white dusting colour is changing slightly, so you're going to see that it's changing over to so it's got no E171 in it. So we are not stocking edible art white, and the reason we're not stocking it is because they're not making it at the moment, because they're obviously trying to find a way around the E171. So our cocoa butter painting kits now are going to be containing Sugar Flare brand at the moment for white. So let's fill this flower in to start with. There we go. If you do have any white, by the way, that does have E171 in it, you are allowed to use it in this country, so that you don't have to make any changes at all. All right, just in case anyone's going, oh no, I've got a cupboard full of white. That's fine. You're allowed to use it. It's just that the manufacturers in this country, as you can imagine, make it for it to go abroad as well, so they're having to make some changes. There we go. So we've got a nice feature flower in there. I think the best way to tackle this, actually, to be honest, is to look for where the flowers are before you start sort of infilling everything else. So we know there's a big flower there, so we may as well pick that one out first. We've also got another one up here, so let's go for that one as well, just so we can pick up both. There we go. And this flower is obviously facing side view. Put that in there like that. There we go, a bit more cocoa butter. So these are a little bit shimmery because they're lusters, obviously. We'll put that there. Right, so turn it around again. So you can make this as like a bit of a cake topper. You could go on the front of a cake. That always looks quite nice. You know, if you can imagine looking at the front of a cake with a nice flower on it, that would look all right. So you could do something there. So that's the 2 flowers there. Now I think we've definitely got something floral going on there as well. So but what we might do with that is maybe a different colour. So we'll come back to that bit. We'll decide later on what we're going to do there. We'll have a look at the green. So I'm just going to take my brush. I'm going to grab hold of some kitchen roll, which I thought I had ready, but I don't. And then what we'll do is we'll just clean our brush as we go along. Sorry for my multicoloured hands. That is me having a little fight with my edible printer this morning, and it currently has one. So I've got to go back and have some sharp words with it to get it to work properly. If anyone owns an edible printer, they will know exactly what I'm talking about. They are law unto themselves. They only do what they want to do and nothing else. Right, let's switch over to 0. And what we'll do is these leaves are very fine. So we're going to start with, we've got 2 different colours here. We'll start with the moss green, which is a bit dark. So we'll put some white into it to brighten it up a little bit. So I've got to get this sitting on this tray. It drives me crazy when they're leaping about. There we go, I'll have to hold it. I can't stand the noise when it's moving around. There we go. Let's put a bit more in. A bit more white. That's better. Right, I can do that now. Okay, so where should we start? That's a good point. Let's start over here. So we've got some greenery over here. There's quite a lot of green on this particular embosser, cutter, whatever you're going to use it for. I think Marion's intention for this was that it was to be an embosser. Although I might be wrong, she could be on here correcting me. She's fine. As she invented them, I'm sure she's got the final say what they're meant to be doing, but I've just been embossing everything with them, as we all know. So we'll do another one there. So there are some sort of quite big leaf parts down here, which is very nice. And this 0 brush actually fits very nicely into the stem of these leaves. I will say that that is a good fit. So if you are looking to go down the stems of these leaves, then do use the 0 brush because it fits really well, which is handy, isn't it? That's what we want. One round here. Put a bit more cocoa butter in here. It's still quite cold at the moment, despite the temperatures going up. I don't think the heating's working in my unit at the moment because it's very cold in here again, even though I've actually managed to do this demo without my hat on my head, which is what I normally do in the winter. It's still quite chilly, which means that the cocoa butter is setting really quickly. So when you go to sort of from here to here, you'll find that it's set before you get there. So you have to work quite quickly. There you go, you can see some quite nice patterns appearing already. There we go. Very nice. But I did go for a couple of different greens, and purely because I just thought, I had this thing years ago and I went to a floristry class. I thought, what am I doing? I'm a cake decorator, but suddenly people were putting fresh flowers on these cakes, and I thought, well, I need to know what I'm doing here. So I went to this floristry class. It was 30 weeks. I did actually survive 25 of them, but I got too busy at the end with weddings. But anyway, I did learn a lot about flowers that I really opened my eyes, actually, to be perfectly honest. And one of the first lessons I ever learned was that greenery is not all the same colour. And I thought, what? I mean, you had never even thought about anything like that. And of course, then when I went outside, I got quite obsessed with bushes. That sounds really bad, but I did start to get really obsessed and looking at all these different bushes like together and stuff, all different colours. So yeah, been very aware of that ever since. And so I apply it to my painting rules now. I have to go, you know, obviously I'm not all green is the same. So there you go. And we know that, it's obvious really, but hey ho, I obviously hadn't clocked it at all. But I've clocked it now. So I will apply that rule to my painting. We'll get some different greens going shortly. But what we want to do is kind of imagine that some of the plants that, oops, I picked the wrong one up there. We were doing the green before I'd even got there. Some of the greenery in this perhaps arrangement is the same and some isn't. So we're mixing it up a little bit here, especially if I pick up the wrong colour. I have to concentrate. Not talk as much, which is quite tricky for me anyway. Now they're a little bit wider, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to just switch over to this brush instead and see if we can get a bit more, that's a bit better, a bit more sweep going on with this. There we go, that's better. Not so good for getting in the tiny little crevices, but when it's cold, That works quite nicely, doesn't it? So yes, I've reserved the spring green for this leaf here, so I'll keep that separate, and this one here. So I'm just going to carry on with this slightly darker colour here, which is moss green. So there's several greens: moss green, woodland green. This is all in Sugar Flare, by the way, just in case anyone's thinking, what brand is she talking about? I'm talking about Sugar Flare, which is one of the oldest brands around, but to be honest, it's the brand I know the best. And so that's the brand I tend to stick with, because I know what it's going to do. I don't like nasty surprises. I put painting, I want to know what it's going to do. So I tend to stick with what I know. And as I've been decorating, get ready for this, everyone, because even I was shocked this week. It is 40 years since I started cake decorating now, because I turned 52 this weekend and I started when I was 12. So yes, even I was quite shocked by that, but there we go. So they've been around definitely that long for sure, because I've been using them that long. And you just get used to things, don't you? And I do like to change things around. I do like to try different things, but yes, that's how long. Been around as long as me, if not more. So 40 years was quite. I've been in business 30 and I've been doing this 40, so not bad, eh? Bit of a lifetime. Don't know what else I'd do, to be honest now. I know what to do myself. Well, that's what I keep telling my husband anyway. Right, round we go. Just do a little bit more around there. So we've got another leaf there that's similar shape to that one. So I'm sort of holding off there. Perhaps these three here should be maybe a different green shade, I think. Let's try and see what we come up with, shall we? So let me just clean my brush up. So just to reiterate, this one here that we're doing today is called Floral Side Design. Just in case you're thinking, what is she doing? It is floral side design. So we're going to put in some spring green now. Spring green is always a very limey green colour. If you have a look inside flowers, right in the centre of a flower, you'll see this lime green colour. I love it. I think it's a great colour. It picks up really nicely. It's a very, very bright colour. So just add a little bit of white in there. There we go. We'll just turn that round and put that in there like that. There's quite a lot of pattern on this one, so there's lots of opportunity here for you to do sort of lots of different colours. So if you fancy adding some different colours in, you can, which we will do later on. There we go. At the moment, I'm just kind of mimicking some of the, so we've got the lime greens in the middle, a bit around the outside edge there. There we go. A little bit going on behind there. And then I've still got this flower here, so I am going to paint that pink, I think, because I would like it in threes, but I think you could do something else with that if you wanted to. So if you felt that you wanted to do that a different colour, you could. There's no reason why you can't do that. Let's just clean my brush up a bit and we'll go back to the nice pink sorbet again. And we will paint this one in as well. Just couldn't decide initially, but now I'm sort of, yes, let's do this. Quite like threes and a one. That's a good rule in floristry, you know. That's something else I learned on my course, you know. So flowers tend to be in groups, odd numbers mainly, threes, 1, 3, 5 and 7. So if you look at things with flowers, that's what they tend to be. You don't often see two together. It tends to be groups of 2s and 3s. So there you go. That makes a bit more sense, doesn't it? So that's all on there. So we've just got the back of that one to do there. So I'm looking for my cocoa butter there. It's gone around the other side. It's confused me. What should we put on the back of there? Let's have a look, see if we've got any brown maybe. Oh, there's some brown. Let's put a bit of brown on the back of that flower there. Hold on, I've got to get the lid off. There we go, it's a new one. There we go, don't need much, just a little bit. I'll dab that in there. Tiny bit of brown, a little bit of white, because we don't want it to stand out too much. And I'll just pop that on that bit there maybe. It's behind the back of it. Yeah, that's fine. Now let's switch back over to paintbrush 1, no, 0, paintbrush 0. We're just going to do that stem that we're missing there, so let's just get a bit more moss green on the go there, and we'll just bring that down there because we haven't joined that up. And there's another one further down we need to join up there as well. And we got another one at the bottom there, possibly a little bit something going on there, so we'll just, it's because the pattern's gone off the heart a little bit, it's a job to actually see. There we go, I think I've done it now. Okay, so in the middle of these flowers there are centres obviously, so we could use our dotting tool if we wanted to maybe. So we'll just mix up a little bit of colour to start with. Let's get the brown out of this paintbrush 1. I don't really want that in there. We'll grab that and we'll mix that like so. Mix the white together. Get a nice thick paint. There we go. That looks good to me. And then we'll take hold of the dotting tool. Let's see if this will work. Let's see if we can go into the centre there. So there we go. So you can just take this dotting tool and just go right into the centre where that flower is, where Marion's put the little tiny dot, and that's it. Now if you wanted to do some, so let's say you wanted to do some little smaller ones, maybe you turn the dotting tool over and then you could do some little tiny ones inside this flower. No idea what this flower is. On the basis it's called floral design, I'd say it can be absolutely anything you want it to be, which is great because that's what we want, isn't it, really? Multi-use. And then we'll do the same with this one over here, except this one's on the side, so we just need to make sure we put the dots at the top and not down the other side. Like that, so something along those lines. And then what we'll do is we'll just sweep a little bit of shading along the bottom of the leaves, maybe just so that they look a little bit more 3D. So we'll turn this around and we'll go back to moss green on its own, so it's quite dark. Gosh, my hands really are a mess from that edible printer this morning. I was cursing it. I'm sure you probably heard me. I hate it. Not good. Anyway, I'll put some of that down there. At least with this brush you can actually get right into the corners, which is what you need to be able to do with these. Make sure you can get in there. If you put too much down you can always, there we go, always blend it through a bit. Got another little brush on the go, you can always just pull it through, but actually I think, to be honest, that's not too bad. Makes it stand out, that's what we want. How's that looking on camera? That looks alright. There we go. So we've got lots of people taking part in our painting challenge at the moment. So we've got a beginner's cocoa butter painting challenge, which is going really well. I think lots of people have been inspired by having a go with the patchwork cutters. I think the patchwork cutters has been, or is, a really excellent starting point for you. It's a really good one just to have a go at. But if you fancy having a go at any more, then have a look at the website, because there's lots of things on my school you can do beyond this and more. What I like about the patchwork cutters, what Marion and I don't look at anything Marion does. I know she looks at what I do, but I definitely don't look at what she does, because then when I go onto my live, I try to have my kind of thought with it as well. And so you've got kind of two creative people looking at the same thing, and it works really well, because then you end up getting kind of lots of different ideas. I'm going to go in with a little bit of moss on this because it's not doing what I want it to do. So maybe we'll just add a little bit of moss around the base of that. That's better. So just round the spring green ones as well. How are we doing? You see, that looks nice. Have a look on the screen every so often. Just check, see what I'm doing. It does look so different for me than it does for you, I can assure you. A little bit up there. There we go. I think we're doing all right there. So that's something like you can do there for painting with the floral side design. So that's a really nice design that you can use. It's very long, so I've only used a very small portion of it in order to be able to create something like that. And that's something that you could put on a cake, or you could put on a cake topper. So you've kind of got a bit of a choice there with that. So I've just used a very small section. I've just used that section there, and just turned it over, printed it, and then used my cookie cutter to get the exact bit that I want to then be able to put on there. And if I was putting this onto a cake, I would then pipe all the way around the outside edge to attach it. It's completely edible. It's too big for a cupcake. I mean, you could cut them down to cupcake size if you particularly wanted to, but I haven't on this occasion because I wanted to paint 3 flowers, which meant I needed to do it a little bit bigger. But if you wanted to do it on a cupcake, then you could certainly perhaps do a very small section there, and put it onto a cupcake. I've got my cupcake guide here. Here we go. So that's my cupcake guide. So you could definitely do a proportion of that onto a cupcake if you wanted. This is a 2-inch round circle, which basically fits a cupcake. So you can see there, you can section off a part of it if you wanted to use it. So lots of kind of different ideas there for that particular cookie cutter. Oh, sorry, cookie cutter. I'm obsessed with cookie cutters. They're on my brain all the time. Floral. So this is floral side design for patchwork cutters for that particular paint. All right, so I'm going to just do a couple of quick easy ones now, just so that you can see a couple of other ideas using some of the other cutters. So I'm going to pop that one up there at the moment. You will get to see it at the end, so I'll bring it back on at the end. Now, lots of you will have seen or potentially seen my new Teddy cookie cutter, which has appeared recently. And we did have him all dressed up for Valentine's Day, so we've done a lovely red heart, we've done some bows and various bits and pieces. If you have missed it at all, you'll be able to see it being made on my TikTok account, which is at Tracey Mann Cakes. If not, it is around on some of my other social media as well, and it's a very quick 45-second video showing you how to put him together. But I thought, what an excellent opportunity to be able to do some patchwork cutters on here. So I've gone forward and I've made some more. So here we go. So we've got this little chap here, or little lady here, and I've taken the Magnolia Rose, which is the very small rose cutter, and I've printed those onto the heart. So perhaps this one could be a bit more, maybe a girly birthday, or I don't know, could be anything, couldn't it? Mother's Day, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to grab some red. We'll do little red roses on here, I thought. We'll put a little bit of white with it, just so it's not too red. There we go. A bit more of a salmony pink colour. And I'm just going to literally just dab my colour into these little roses. Do you know, this always reminds me of a little bit of like the sort of Cath Kidston type look. I always think that's where this little rose really lends itself. So this is Magnolia and Rose. Okay, so that's another one of the patchwork cutters. So we've looked at floral side design so far. This one is Magnolia and Rose. So if you kind of dab the colour in as well, you'll see all the little detail appearing around the rose. I mean, how easy is that? You couldn't get it much easier if you tried, could you? And let's face it, we don't want to make it too complicated. Let's try and keep things straightforward. You could paint lots of different roses colours if you want to. It doesn't really matter. There's no rules with this. So if you wanted to make some slightly different ones, you could. I remember this back in the early days, she says. Here we go. Marion, this one's been around a long time, I feel, because I remember using this on cakes years and years ago and painting them, just like I'm doing now. It's a very sweet little cutter, this one. You can use this on anything. And obviously this area that I've got across here isn't that big particularly anyway, so it could easily be used as on a cookie or a cupcake. Anything really, it doesn't really matter, does it? And then we'll do the same on this one. Need a bit more cocoa butter in there, it's getting a bit dry. There we go. Let's put that in like so. Turn that round. Okay, so it's very quick to do, it's not difficult to do. All I did was I punched this in when the sugar paste was soft, so that's the only thing you have to remember if you are doing this, to make sure you do this in advance, otherwise you'll come unstuck. You try and do it on sugar paste that's set. And I did the heart and then I put the bear's hands on, so I did it in that order. So let's do I've changed down to brush 0 now. We'll do the little little petals, and I'm doing this with moss green with some white added to it. And put that down there. Turn it round. Not going to make it difficult for myself. Put the paintbrush into there. I think there is a bit of a calyx on this, but I think I might have painted over it, so I'll just come up here a little bit. Let's do this one. I think it's meant to be there, but I've obviously gone over that one a bit, so I can just go round it. Because you can paint over cocoa butter, you see, so that's nice. It doesn't really matter what the colour is underneath it because the cocoa butter is going to cover it. So, it doesn't matter if it's pink or blue or whatever, you won't see it. So, you can paint away to your heart's content. There we go. Don't forget the stem. And then the same on this one as well. Oh, nearly went in the wrong colour then. Oh, there we go. A bit of a lump of dusting colour there. Turn that round. There you go. How easy is that? That's not difficult at all, is it? And it's very sweet. It's really sweet. You always want to make things a little bit more kind of softer still. I do find this dotting tool works brilliantly with some of the white dusting colour, so I'm just going to have to mix some here. I was going to take some red out of that, but I don't think I will. So I'll start again with another brush. Just check there's nothing in there. No, that's fine. Let's grab a little bit of white dust again. Just make it a little bit finer, I guess, if you want to. Again, you can always pipe round the edge of this, so if you like to do lots of piping and things, there's no reason why you couldn't do that. Very Cath Kidston, isn't it? Very sweet. That's suddenly made you think. All the possibilities. You'll all be rushing back now to get your patchwork cutters out and see what fits this. I did actually go through quite a few of them, and I've got another one to show you in a minute, so you'll be able to try out some of the different ones I found. So there you go. How about that? That's very sweet, isn't it? I'm just going to paint his eyes in because I forgot to do that before I went live, so I'm just going to have to do that very quickly, and then we'll move on to the other one. Have a little look at that one. So just paint those in. But you can see what I mean about it. You can use this heart in the middle for literally anything. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to do the top of these and then I'll turn them both around at the same time. Probably a little bit easier. And then in there as well. You can always put little hearts on the cheeks of these as well if you wanted to. It's up to you. Oh, a bit more cocoa butter. My brush has gone a bit funny. Right, there we go. Holding my breath. And you can paint eyelashes on, I guess, if you want to get really carried away. All sorts of different things, can't you? Okay, let's turn that back round. There you go. I do like to put whites in the eyes of everything, but I'm going to just wait for it to dry. Everything in my world is smiley, as you'll probably see from everything I do. Most things have got a smile on their face, so there you go. We'll get a smiley teddy as well. Okay, so we'll give that one a minute or two to dry and we'll move on to the other one and then you'll get a comparison there. So this one I've done using the rose garland. So this is the small rose garland. What I've done here is I've taken this part here, and I've placed it onto the heart. As you can see, it's slotted straight in there. Then I've put the hands on. So you do your embossing first and then you put the hands on over the top. And again, we've got another red rose here. So let's move you out of the way for the moment. Just let that dry off. I'm going to just quickly do the eyes while I've still got black on my brush, because otherwise I'll be cleaning it all up again, driving myself mad. So I'll just do this little bit first. Clearly I forgot to paint the eyes before I came on, and I only realised as I was sat here looking at them and thought, uh-oh. But that's okay, it doesn't take long. You can always use little cookie eyes and things, so little black sprinkles if you don't like the idea of painting the eyes, if that's all a bit too much for you. But they are all marked out, so you should be fine. And then what we'll do is we'll paint the lovely rose garland that goes across the front of the bear. Get that. So again, you could do any colour you like. I've done a blue background this time just so you can have a bit of contrast. You can just make your mind up with ideas. So we've got a white background today with the floral side design, and then we've got a pink and a blue one. So you've got three different ideas there, so you can see that. So this is a bit bigger, this one, so I'm going to swap brushes. I'm going to go up to brush 1 so I've got more coverage. We'll do red again. We'll stick with our Valentine's theme at the moment, and we'll just go straight in for the red in the centre. I want to show you how quick this is as well, because if you are making biscuits perhaps on a mass basis, perhaps you're selling them, I don't know, or perhaps you've got lots of Valentine's people you want to give them to, then you want to be able to do these quick, then this is the way to do it. Very, very quick. Around that side. Turn it around, a bit more cocoa butter. I've got to make sure I'm getting this right here. There we go, into that. So the rose, so what's this one called? Rose garland. There we go, rose garland. You can use this on loads of cakes. Marion's got this on a cake. What's she done with it? Yeah, it's going around the outside edges. She's used it where she's cut out pieces and put them onto the cakes. Again, I've used them to emboss, so that you can just literally press it in and paint it. Job done. Nice and easy. So there's a nice big heart in the middle of that one. Now I think potentially, so we've got leaves, and I think we've then got the back of some of the other roses here, but obviously we can't really see them because, let me just check, make sure I've got that right. Yes, I have. You can see the very sort of tail end of one there. Obviously the bear's hand's in the way, so I'm just going to mark that in just so we know there's a little flower kind of bud there. And then there's another one just sort of about there. Again, I'm just going to put that on there. I'm not going to really make too much fuss over that because it's covered. We're focusing more on the centre of the bear. We'll go back to moss green again. Go a bit darker this time, maybe. We'll up the rose leaves are quite dark, so we'll go darker. And we'll go over these. That's the calyx there, so you can do that as well. Doesn't matter if it's a similar colour to the leaves, that's fine. And then across there. And when you go across them, the paintbrush will pick up the pattern really easily. So you'll find, as you can see already, you can see the veins of the leaves. Doesn't take much to do that. Got a lump of paint on my brush, it's annoying me. Let's get that off. And then down there. Oh, I've gone slightly off screen, getting carried away here. So if you wanted to do these for weddings maybe, or if you wanted to do them for, I don't know, birthday, Mother's Day, all of those kinds of things, you can change the rose colour. So you could do maybe a pink rose or different colour background. You know, you really can just kind of customise this according to whatever it is that you want to achieve. So you're not very limited to whatever you want to do with this really. I quite like the idea of being able to go in there and change things around, because I think that's what makes these cutters so versatile. You can just get in there and do your own thing, which I think makes quite a difference, doesn't it? So I'll put a little bit of shading in. Won't go mad with it today, just a little bit. We'll keep ourselves under control today, shall we? There we go. I think my hand keeps taking the focus away from the camera. There we go. Oh, yeah, it is. So every time I take my hand out of the way, it's changing the focus. Go, and then what we'll do is we'll just go into the red flower a little bit with some neat red rather than red with white in it. Let's go over there, grab a bit of red, so it's a bit darker. And then we'll paint the centre a bit redder, that is actually a word, more red. Like so, and then perhaps we'll sweep some of the colour around some of the bits that Marion's put on here for us, so we can separate it out a little bit, give it a bit more detail maybe. Centre of the rose is normally darker. When you look into the middle of the rose, you'll all be obsessed now. You'll be out looking at different colour bushes, and you'll be looking out the centre of roses, realising they are all different colours. I've set you off on a mission today. So I was just trying to find a brush that didn't have any colour in it, but they've all got colour in them now. Let's blend that out a little bit. Okay, and then again with this, let's go back to the white. So we could do the whites. We'll do the whites of the eyes in the bear. So we'll do a little bit of white highlight. That always makes the bear look like he's awake. A bit on his nose as well. And then we can do some more. We'll do slightly bigger ones, so I'll turn this over. So the dotting tools have got different sizes on them. So you just turn them over according to whatever size dot that you want. And then you can dot around your flower. So my little bears are my cookie cutters that are new. Now, as I say, there is a video on TikTok where you can see them being made really, really quickly, like 45 seconds. The patchwork cutters that I've used on here, this is Rose Garland, which you'll find on my website as well. And we've also used the miniatures, what was it, Magnolia Rose we've used on the other one. So I've just forgotten, I forgot to do his mouth. We haven't got a mouth. That's no good, is it? I'll do you a little smile maybe, do a smaller one this time. Perhaps you're trying to be ultra cute maybe. There we go, that's better. And then we'll put a little dot in this one as well. Whoops, no, you took that with me. Dot in there, and dot on his nose. It's just highlights. Very easy, very straightforward. Right, let's bring all today's painting in together so we can have a little look at it. There we go. Right, okay, so let's run through this. So the patchwork cutters today, this is Magnolia and Rose. It's part of that set. So this is the very miniature rose that's in there. This one is Rose Garland, and it's the smallest one that's in the Rose Garland set. There is a set of 3. This is the smallest one that I've used to do this. And then this pattern here is the floral side design, which is the great big long one, which is this one here, which is quite difficult to see until you actually put icing sugar on it and you can see the pattern a bit more clearly, or press it down onto the sugar paste. And then you can make yourself quite a nice little topper there that you could then perhaps put on top of a cake. If you want to make a cupcake size, then you can use, that's the cupcake size guide. So you can take sections from it and create yourself some nice toppers there if you want to just sit and have a practice. Same with this one to a degree as well. Don't forget this one can also be bigger. And within the Magnolia and Rose set, there are bigger roses as well. So if you wanted to do bigger ones, then you could. And then if you wanted to make it super special, you can always get yourself a little box and take hold of your little friend and pop it into a box put the lid on it, and then it's all ready for Valentine's Day, isn't it? Look at that. Could not be more organised if you tried. There you go. How about that? So there you go. There's some Valentine's ideas for you today. I hope that you've enjoyed it and you've benefited from it and perhaps attempted to have a go and see if there's something in there that you could get yourself involved with. It's still very cold at the moment, so it's quite a nice moment to be doing cake painting. I know lots of my students are busy painting their beginners cocoa butter painting at the moment, and it's keeping them well occupied. So there you go. So just to recap once more, magnolia and rose garland and floral side design. But I will put a picture up online anyway so that you can see exactly what they are, because I normally take a photograph. I also upload this to YouTube, onto my YouTube channel in a couple of days time, so you'll see that as well. So if you need a recap, but you can always come back here to Patchwork Cutters Club and you can watch the video back any time. That's the joy of these. And then I'm keeping Marion very organised, you see, by putting them in featured section for her. So across the top of the Facebook page you'll see where it says featured, and every time Marion and I do a video I press it into featured, and therefore you can go straight across the top of it and you'll be able to find any video that you want to be able to go back and recap or perhaps paint along with me. So there you go. So thank you very much for joining me this morning. I hope that you've enjoyed it and that we've given you lots of ideas for Valentine's Day. So have a lovely day, and I will see you all again soon on Patchwork Cutters Club. Bye for now.